a nice medium trot for me, that'd be great. The first thing I like about this horse and why I chose it for my talk was how nice he frames up, or that is how nice his top line is. I want you guys to notice that nice line from the point of his hip to his pole, pretty straight. Also want you to notice how much he stretches ahead of the withers. Okay, a lot of people are going to tell me, well, I get a really nice work through the back, but at the neck it gets real tight, very crunchy. Okay, that's something we're going to talk about on a couple of my other horses I have here. Notice his nose is straight up and down. Okay, the judges would like to see that, or would like to see the nose maybe slightly ahead. We're penalizing a lot of being over-bridled. In fact, can you slow him down and get him to go a little bit behind the vertical? I'm not going to beat up on him too bad, he's a nice boy. There we go. You guys see this? We don't want that. We don't want the nose behind the vertical. Okay? He can't see this way. Okay? He's rolling onto his forehand when you ask him to get behind the vertical like that. Now you can go ahead and praise him and let him get where he should be. Good. Much better. Okay? What would I change with her? Yes, she's riding in my favorite bit, but with that bit, you have to be careful that you have too much contact with him. Maybe you like to see just a hair more contact in her hands. Okay, but I want you to notice that she makes corrections. Look how soft and subtle her hands are. Okay, that's what we like to see. If you have to fix something or change something, make it very quick, brief, and go on. Okay, this is really nice. And yes, she's riding with the traditional, and I'm going to be a USEF person for a minute. Say the piano hand, she has a break in her wrist. But I will say, in riding these horses, I'll admit I can do the same thing myself on a customer's horse. It is easy to get the break at the wrist when you're working their mouth. Okay, and it is almost expected to be seen when you're showing these kinds of horses. Now, when you ride an equitation, don't be doing that. And make sure you have your hands flat, you have your thumbs pointing towards each other very slightly, and not a lot of flexion. Now, can you slow him down a little bit, a little slower trot? Okay. Good. You can even sit if you want. I'm looking, he's got such a pretty swinging hip. Even here where he's trotting slower, this still doesn't have a tendency to look Western to me. And he's still covering some ground. But the reason I brought him out is I did want you to see the consistency of that top line. Okay? I'm not going to pick on him and tell him he's got to get lower, but if he was a whole lot lower than this, his neck and head would be too low. We also penalize when the pole is consistently below the point of the withers. Okay? Or in a lot of cases, if the point of the ears is below the withers, we had a real big fall. He's right where he needs to be. Any lower, if he gets too low. I bet you at the end of the day, she might have to work to get him to come up. She's laughing because I know she does. So you can go ahead and bring him down the walk. Okay, and look at this nice transition. We are looking at the transitions. I'm looking for him to stop with his hind quarters. Okay, so this is going to mean when you do your transitions downwards, you still need to think about pushing up with your leg to your hand, keeping the horse light in the shoulder, keeping them bent. I'm not going to give a dressage lesson, but remember, we're bending the horse to the inside. Okay, so we're lifting the inside shoulder, we're pushing the hip over. I'm going to use the fence, towards the fence. Okay? So when they're going to the left, that left hind leg is the one that's really engaging and really pushing inwards and under the horse. Okay, you can have a wonderful horse in each game, but if you crash those transitions, the horse falls on their forehand, their mouth's wide open, all that, you did what we call a pole transition. Whoa! And your leg is in space, and your seat's in space. Obviously, it takes away from the overall picture. Okay, so we're looking for that really nice downwards transition. When she did that, actually, can you do that once more for me? A little posting trot, and then just come down to the walk. Trot on around, and when you get over here, come down to the walk for me. She's pushing him right up, kicking him right up into that trot. Notice where she uses her leg, guys, back there on the rib cage. Okay, now bring it down to the walk. Hopefully he'll do the same thing for us he did before. This is good. See how she engaged him with her seat? Okay, that's going to be really important in the way you execute your performances. Especially if, what if we're trotting along and they call a walk, you're right in front of me. That's when you really want to stick that transition in, even though we're, again, not judging equitation, those transitions are super, super important in the presentation of your horse. You can come to the center for me. Let's take a little bait with the star. can go the same direction, and also once you get out